Josh changed his name today. His name on the on the podcast is Vote for Tim. So,
which is yeah. Thank
I'm
you.
not
Josh.
sure. Yeah, Josh. What is Tim running for?
President.
I really do want to become president. No kidding.
Is that really a goal of yours?
Yeah, I feel like I'd be a good leader. Like, okay, let's talk about the abortion. Why am I, a man, even in this choice? Why don't we get a committee of women to vote on this and let all the men just stay out of it?
Okay. Now, okay. Now I want to touch on that subject a little bit. Since you brought it up,
Yeah.
let's touch on it just a little bit. We're not going to get like real political or anything with it. We might, I don't know. But why should men be involved?
Right.
It's a great argument, but I'm gonna counter argue what you're saying.
Oh,
Why should men be
fine.
involved? Well, I've been in a particular situation before, without going into too much detail, where my voice didn't matter, and and a decision was made.
Yeah.
So that's
Well,
kind of.
no, I'm saying legislation, major legislation, could be factored in by a committee of women rather than a bunch of old men. You know what I mean?
I understand.
And I'm
that.
not saying
Sure.
that it would be, I just think the optics are already better if you're like coming into a leadership role and you're like, okay, this is why I shouldn't be president, but I want to be. I think it'd be fun if you got thrown into being president, like, some random magical miracle, like Bruce Almighty moment, God just says, okay, yeah, you can be president. Right.
Mhm.
I think that, my goal as a leader would be to try and it'd be impossible, but just to try and live out love, joy, peace, patience, and kindness, and do all that as a leader. But then when it comes to some major decisions about things, I mean, it's like, get committees together, get think tanks, just get what's the best thing. But I don't really think I wouldn't try to be lobbied or line my pockets with money. I want to try and do it without corruption. That's the impossible goal, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is kind of impossible, simply because I think there are a lot of people that go into politics with amazing intentions to
At
do
first,
good. Oh, at
Mhm.
first. And then like some of these shows that we watch, I believe what happens is they're going with good intentions. They want to get this bill passed. They're pushing really hard, and someone says, listen, kid, calm down, right? We can either help you or we can break you, right?
Yep.
I can give you a little, but you're going to have to give me a lot. So you
Yeah.
vote on my bill.
Yeah.
And so I think over time, people who become career politicians just get worn down. And that's where, we talk about, man, maybe it should just be a 4-year term for Congress, right? Maybe or 8, or like, that's it. Like, you can't serve anymore. Like, you can't be in there for life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Well, I
that's
mean-
what happens is you got guys who are in there, like Biden was a great example, who's in there for 40 plus years, and he knows the game. Like he's
It's a game,
kind of the
yeah.
top dog now.
See, I
You know,
wish it
he's-
weren't that, but that's political science, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
The
So no, I
political
definitely
science.
understand what you're saying. I mean, that's even where I think what you're talking about is more of a libertarian approach too, to where the government, on a libertarian side, the government shouldn't be involved at all, whether it is wrong or right. It has to do, and this is where it gets tricky, because on a libertarian thing, it's, if you are not harming anyone else, then you should be able to live your life how you want to live your life, right? If that means even harming yourself by doing drugs or doing whatever. But this is where it gets a little tricky, because at what point is that little embryo human from spark?
Well, there is literally a spark, right? We talked about that.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like, men have their opinion on it, but ultimately it'd be better to me served than just making it more of a female decision. I mean, I don't know.
But again, that's where it gets tricky, right? So if, as an example, if I'm with a woman and she ends up pregnant, and her decision is that she doesn't want the child. It is her body, but that is also my child in
Right.
there, right? And although I might not agree with it, and I might want other routes to happen, well, hey, listen, if we don't want to have a child, maybe I do. Maybe I'll take it and raise it, or maybe I want to put it up for adoption, But in the end, I don't have a say. And that's tough. And that's where it's super tricky because it is her body.
I mean, this is where we have to give a lot of the presidents and leaders and presidents and all these people, grace, because it's just, you can't make, there's so many bad calls that you have to make. And, there's the way the good out with the bad, like all the time,
there's no way you can please everybody.
It's impossible to please everybody, but
never.
But I mean, yeah, I don't know. If it would be an interesting thing to just be handed the reins to a country, wouldn't it? You could magically have it happen. Man. But think about right?
Josh
I know.
Says no way.
But I think that. Again, a part of it is really, don't you think part of it being a president is really just being this spokesperson? Like, it's like Jimmy Kimmel or Jon Stewart. They're always saying, why don't you guys run for president? Or Stephen Colbert, because these are the people who are well-spoken and make good jokes. And it doesn't mean they're good leaders or make good presidents, but there's a part of that where they talk well. They're able to, you can hear that they talk well. They can think straight. They can rationalize, like, well, I guess, like, put myself in their shoes kind of thing. Not that they're perfect, but that's why you often hear like a brilliant mind. I think Jon Stewart's a brilliant person. I think he's a very fun person to watch, and people always say, why doesn't this guy become president? And of course he would never do it because he knows himself. He's like, oh, no way, you wouldn't want me. But he does have some pretty, in my humble opinion, he really sees both sides of the aisle, makes fun of both sides, has definitely a left-leaning agenda, but
right, and that's what I was going to say. Like, he does lean pretty left,
very left, but he does have like things to say about the left. He's not leaving the left alone.
For sure. Kind of like Bill Maher now. I mean, Bill Maher is kind of in that same boat where it's like he's very left, but he's like, whoa, things are getting too left.
I know, right?
Now, and just to kind of throw that out to everybody, like, we're not advocating for right. We're just saying there's too right as well. It's just
there is too right.
It's a huge
right now. We have way too much right going on.
Way too much right.
There's too much left. As far as you can hear from different pundits, I like watching the news, during the day because for whatever reason it helps me work faster on projects. But,
sure.
Because of the
the world's going to end. Let me get this done.
No. It's just the droning noise. It's nothing
for sure.
But when you hear things like lately, I've been hearing things being said about how this is the most incompetent Congress we've ever had in like 40, 50 years. It's just terrible. Like, they just can't get anything done. And now they're trying to oust the other new guy that they brought in. And it's just a bunch of crazies running that thing. I think instead of draining the swamp, the swamp thing came in and created a new swamp, But anyway, you just wish sometimes that just somebody kind and caring and wise, real wise, a Solomon, right? A guy who could come in and just make a call and it's right and it works. Like, there's no, everything is just, everything is fair. Wish you could do that. I wish you could have a leader like that. I wish we could, run the world that way. But
well, that's big. I wonder, and this is before any of our time, before we were born, but I wonder if JFK was that guy.
He could have been.
I wonder if he was that guy. And guess what happened?
They killed him.
Well,
I mean, if it's true, if you get, sorry, Josh, what were you gonna say?
I feel like his brother was more of one.
Yeah, they really liked
quite
him.
possibly,
and they killed him too.
I mean,
but
he was the more like the smarter one, wasn't he? Did they say?
I think so. unfortunately enough, I don't know enough about his brother.
He was definitely a sad one. When people saw him go, boy, it was real sad. Real sad.
Yeah, I mean, but I think when you look at that time in history, mid to late 60s, with the Kennedy brothers, I think that was a time to where, had it not gone down the way it did, America would be a different America today. And that's kind of that movie, that show on Hulu with
Franco?
Franco, yes.
311? No.
Oh, right, where he's got to go.
Numbers.
He's
the-
got to
Yeah,
go.
it's numbers like something 64 or something like that. That was incredible. Like, what if? But even how that turned out. So if you guys haven't seen it,
No, I know that.
go see it. But the way that turned out is it changed history, really not in the best light. So, but I like to
Who
believe
knows,
that
right?
had those guys still existed, I would like to believe that maybe we would have a different government today, that instead of giving a shit about themselves, that they would care about us, like legitimately.
Or well, and when you say us, it's like, oh, okay, let's say they knew anti-gravitational craft did exist, like, because that's how some people say the reason people died were because of what they knew, free energy and things like that. Just how the technological landscape could have been different too. We probably would have had gone to the moon more often, or whatever the heck it would happen. Space travel would have been looked at different. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of technology that maybe would have eventually showed up, and now it's even more skirted under the rug by, people who want to keep that away. If that's true, if that's even true.
Right, exactly.
Because there are a lot of rumors about, Kennedy being a part of working with some senators that went over there during World War II, saw, crafts and things that the Germans had built and were blown away by it, found out, and wanted to tell the world, like, hey, we could do free energy. We could do craft that fly without, anti-gravity craft, things like that. And that's a lot of people think that's why he was killed, right? Von Braun, head of NASA, is like, nope, he cannot do this. We cannot get this out there. I know he wants to, but we got to stop him, right? And so if that's true.
I have heard some of that. I've also heard that Kennedy was a huge proponent for kind of dismantling the military complex.
Yeah, that's exactly it. The military complex.
But also kind of, wasn't it? It was right. It was right after the Cuban Missile Crisis, right? That's something that Kennedy died. Because it was like he gave a speech. Hold on a second. I want to pull up this speech real quick.
Ladies and gentlemen, the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. No president should fear public scrutiny of his program, for from that scrutiny comes understanding, and from that understanding comes support or opposition, and both are necessary. I am not asking your newspapers to support an administration, but I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people. For I have complete confidence in the response and dedication of our citizens whenever they are fully informed. I not only could not stifle controversy among your readers, I welcome it. This administration intends to be candid about its errors. For as a wise man once said, an error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. We intend to accept full responsibility for our errors, and we expect you to point them out when we miss them. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive. That is why the Athenian lawmaker Solon decreed it a crime for any citizen to shrink from controversy. And that is why our press was protected by the First Amendment, the only business in America specifically protected by the Constitution, not primarily to amuse and entertain, not to emphasize the trivial and the sentimental, not to simply give the public what it wants, but to inform, to arouse, to reflect, to state our dangers and our opportunities, to indicate our crises and our choices, to lead, mold, educate, and sometimes even anger public opinion. This means greater coverage and analysis of international news, for it is no longer far away and foreign, but close at hand and local. It means greater attention to improved understanding of the news, as well as improved transmission. And it means, finally, that government at all levels must meet its obligation to provide you with the fullest possible information outside the narrowest limits of national security. And so it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
Oh, yeah. No, he warns about it.
Yeah, he warns about it. So like the Cuban Missile Crisis, what was interesting about it is it was during the time of the Cold War, and Russia and us were in this, kind of Cold War, let's see how many nukes we can all get. And basically, Russia couldn't come up with, I guess, a missile that would reach the U.S.
Right, but they found Cuba was into it.
So
right.
Cuba was down. So they started popping up nuclear weapons in Cuba. Yeah. So,
and they're like, "Hey, we're communists. You're communists. Let's take out this democracy.
Let's burn up Miami. You down?"
Yeah.
So
that would have been a very crazy time for sure.
Oh my gosh, that would have been a nutty time.
Speaking of Russians and all this stuff, there was something that happened in the news that brought my eyebrows up, and it was a blip on the screen, but they were talking to Republican Mike Johnson or something like that, and he said something weird about this crisis, this upcoming crisis, this top secret news that he'd heard, and he mentioned it in front of the news people, and for the whole day they were like and what was he talking about with this weird top secret thing that, and apparently, I don't know, there's something to do with Russia having like a missile from space, some sort of space missile that it can shoot now or something.
Oh,
like
was
that.
it the laser thing?
Not the Jewish space laser, but the
No,
remember there was a gal in Congress that believes the
So
Yeah,
proud.
Marjorie
So
Taylor-
proud she's from Georgia.
Yeah,
is she
she's
from
an,
Georgia?
Yeah,
Oh,
by the
geez.
way, yeah, she's an idiot, dude. I'm sorry.
No offense.
I tried to
but
think of a way to be
yeah.
respectful. No, she
Nah,
is.
Disrespectful.
She's just looking for entertainment, like WWF in it, man.
It's
Well, yeah,
it's
but that's not what this
disrespectful to our
platform is,
government.
man. This is get shit done for the American people.
I know.
You know, like, did you see her at Biden's speech? And again, like, I'm not pro Biden at all. I'm not pro Trump at all. But did you see, like, when
Oh,
she's
yeah.
yelling out to Biden,
Oh yeah.
you know, and wearing her MAGA hat, and it's like,
Oh, she
dude.
was dressed to the nines.
I know, and it's like, come on, man, like. We've like that kind of stuff in the House and everything like that, and in the government. It's a joke, man. And we've got serious shit we got to deal with, and not be joking around looking like fucking idiots to the world. And that's what that is.
And that's all she was, and that's all that she's been doing is looking like an idiot.
And she's not the only one, but you know, I'm just saying, like, since we brought her up.
No, and then I think it was hilarious just to speak on it. The rebuttal from the Republicans was just talk
Stupid
about a
as well.
resounding gong of noise
Is
and
that woman?
silly. Oh goodness,
That was
just a train wreck.
that was
Just
weird.
a train wreck. I just sat there going, "Are they seriously doing this? Like, oh my gosh, this is so bad."
I saw Jon Stewart's thing on that.
Oh, everybody was. I mean, as soon as I saw that, I went, SNL is going to be all over this, and they were. Stewart, all of them. They're
Like,
all
who
going to
makes
take
the
this thing
decision
on.
to. I don't know.
Well,
Who thought that was a good idea?
That's the thing. It's they're not. They don't have a foot in reality.
Who's
they're
making
in a,
these decisions?
They're in a bizarro world where that would be okay to do what they, they're just in some sort of strange bizarro world.
Mhm.
We're not in that world, but they are,
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
bubble. It's a
It's
bubble.
some strange, weird, that they think this is going to work and that this is awesome. And yet it just was like, oh, guys, you just look so stupid. But what do I know? I'm sure that the other side of the aisle is like, oh, wow, she was great. Yeah, tell them, so.
But you know who didn't look stupid? Our good boy Tim right here was blowing up the stage the other night
Oh, that's right.
in his own musical as a main character.
And
singing his heart
theater
out.
Performance.
Oh, you guys, that's so silly. You're silly. Yeah,
no,
it was
he's
good.
true, man. So we talked about it before. Tim had a performance coming up, and was it eight or nine shows?
Yeah, 8 shows. It was
8
good.
shows. And Josh and I went and saw it with a bunch of other friends, and Tim killed it. I knew
did. I
Tim could
died.
sing. No, he did actually.
I
die in the
would
show,
I would
yeah.
I would have given you a little gold man, or I guess not. Well, no,
A
a
little
Tony,
gold
right?
man?
Tony,
Sure.
correct?
Yeah, give it
One
to
of
Is
him.
that the correct award?
I
don't
guess
know.
so.
No, just give him all the awards, man. He killed it.
Oh, you
What is it
guys.
called when you get all 4?
You get the.
Hat trick. I have no idea.
I know that there is something though. I forget what they call it.
Something caught.
Yeah.
Oh, caught. No, no. Whatever.
Epcot.
I know.
An Epcot. Yeah, give him an Epcot. Center.
You get the keys to Epcot.
Have fun,
I'll take
kid.
it. I'll take it.
No, it was awesome. Like I said, I knew Tim could sing, man, but gosh, man, when you were singing some of those lines, I'm sitting there going like, holy shit, like Tim's an actor.
He's actor.
An actor.
Yeah, it was legit. Yeah,
It was
I
legit.
swore I thought I was sitting like on a Broadway show.
Yeah,
Like
it
for a
wasn't
moment.
like-
I
Awesome.
wasn't in our like local theater
Yeah.
here up in Forsyth County. I was
Well-
like, I thought we were on like Broadway in New York City.
It's interesting you say that. The whole cast felt that way. We all felt like it was a magical little gathering of people. And it really did take that whole little team to make that play go, and man, everybody played their part, did their job, came in with good attitudes. We'd go out afterwards, have fun. Got to know. I actually miss those kids, man. It's like, oh, I don't know if I'll ever see most of those kids that I was with. But yeah, it was. even down from the costumes and just the budget that they had, which really wasn't much, but they made it work. The director's all about minimalism anyway. He's more of a minimalist. He doesn't like a lot of
But even that, it
props
felt
and stage.
full. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, I think the costumes were so well done. The acting was so well done. The
Your
singing
PJs
was
were
incredible.
on point.
Yeah, your
Yeah,
old man
thank you.
pajamas were
I
killer. No, I
It's
think with all of
hilarious.
that, like it felt bigger. It felt legit, dude. Like it didn't feel like a local performance.
Yeah, it was good quality. It was
They
really
did a good
quality.
job. They did a good
Yeah.
job.
And Tim, you were not a local performer, buddy. Like,
Are you going to do another one? You gonna do another one?
I will definitely put my name in a hat. Yes, I will. And we'll see what that looks like. The good thing is they know I exist. They know what I can do, which is good. And
You should be Hook in Peter Pan.
sure.
Oh,
I don't
that'd be
know.
fun.
I mean,
one.
I would be a bunch of different things.
That would be a fun one.
Upcoming stuff that I know about. I don't even know if I could say it.
don't say it if you don't know.
There's things like Beauty and the Beast and stuff like that. And
Would you be
we'll
the
see.
beauty?
Yeah, I'd
Yeah,
be the
you
beauty.
would.
Obviously.
Yeah,
I
you
would be the
would.
beauty. Little Belle running around.
You would be Chip.
Yeah, little Chip.
Is Chip the teapot?
Little cute little cup.
Oh, the cup. Okay, because it had a little chip in it, right?
Mhm, yeah.
I mean, the best one, of course, is the candelabra. What's his name?
He would be fun, or the clock. The clocks.
Yeah,
fun.
they're the best ones. Like they're the fun
There is
ones.
talk of course, the Beast. The Beast would. I mean, I could get Beastie.
Yeah, you could get beastie.
I had.
Would you have to
talk, kind of Bell.
All right, I'll be Bill.
Okay.
Are you a beast or something?
Yes. Come into my castle. Sit down.
Well, I don't know. Are you?
Tale as old as time.
Oh, get it!
Oh, come on, for some dinner.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks guys for going. It was a really
incredible.
fun, and magical little thing. I missed that cast. Shout out to those guys. They're all really good kids. Just good people to be with. So a lot of fun. My first musical ever.
Yeah, dude, and that's what was. I think that's
Killed
what
it.
for like Josh and I watching it. I think that was kind of shocking. Again, we knew that you could perform, we knew that you could sing, but to watch you up there was like, dude, Tim, you've totally. I mean, I know you did improv, you've done all
Yeah.
that stuff. I know you've done things, but it was shocking, at least to me, because I was like, wow, like I could see you doing this, like you've been doing this.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank
No,
you.
dude, it was awesome. You did a great
I
job.
love that. Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
And then afterwards, oh my gosh, you should have seen. I know we were sitting there talking to you, and then this old lady was like, literally pushed me to the side so she could come up. Not old, she was older, but
Great.
literally pushed me to the side so she could come talk to Tim. And Tim, I was talking with your wife Michelle, like off to the side, and I was like, do you guys know? She goes, no, I have no idea. She goes, this is happening like every night. People keep just wanting to meet him and talk to him.
I had a real interesting thing happen. My friends came to. It was one of the best nights. It was like a Saturday, the first weekend, and my friends from college came out to see me. They were the ones that like housed me when I wanted to move out here, and so I was like, "You guys, it's because of you I'm here doing a musical, right? In a sense, if it weren't for your kindness, you should come out and see it." So they came out and saw it, and we finished and it was a great show. The audience was just really into it. And it's always nice, by the way, when the audience is into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I go back to the back there and I meet them and we're like, oh, hey, and we're talking. I'm like, oh, guys, thanks so much for coming. And then like you're saying, like this guy pushed through, the young guy, probably in his, 20s, mid 20s. And he just came up and went, I know you don't have a lot of time. I just want to tell you, thank you. You have helped me deal with some of the things I was dealing with my dad. And like just tonight, just this show gave me some revelations on what I could do to help my dad and help my relationship with him. And then he just took off. And, I'm paraphrasing. What he said was even deeper than
I'm sure.
I could even, I would, and we were all so shocked. I was looking at cause they're all there listening.
Yeah.
And we were just like, well, wow. I mean, I was really glad that they were there to see that because they were part of that guy's change too, or something.
For sure. Yeah.
But yeah, this musical, like no other musical, has these elements that make you ponder your own family, your own, yeah, just the things that you're dealing with in life. It was something about this show that really, rather than just some story where you laugh and it's sort of just silly and you go home and you're not even thinking about it anymore. This show has that element of, oh, wow, my dad or my brother or my, people in your life who maybe don't get along with or just question their sanity, and you watch this and you go, well, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the one. So it's interesting. It was a very helpful thing for some people, very cathartic, or gave them a way to really grieve or deal with the grief of a lost loved one or whatever it was. It was just, there's a lot of new little people that would come up out of the night and just tell me that it really helped them deal with their family member or whatever it was, and it was neat.
Sure. No, I could totally see that because towards the end of the play, the your acting, the singing, and the entire cast as well, but those last few scenes, like right before older Edward dies, like I'm looking over and Michelle is crying, and the other ladies that were with are crying, and I can feel emotional. Like if you can portray that, and that's what makes a good actor, is like that portrayal of emotion. Not that you can just be the part, but that you can be the part so much that somebody goes, I can feel it. You're acting in a way that I can feel the emotion, right? And that's what you did, man. And that's what was so incredible about it. And that's why I could see how some people were coming up to you and just excited to talk to you and excited to meet you because you did such a good job. Because out of the whole play, and
you came back to life. Like you died.
I died. And I had to wheel my wheelchair off.
You resurrected, and you were. That was awesome.
That was really cool.
I mean, who can say they've done that?
Right. It's very true. Josh.
Jesus, Lazarus.
Yeah, so I'll be. But I hear you. It's funny, man. Yeah, it's funny how we had to block that. I thought it's weird that the lights go out and then I have to get up and immediately grab my wheelchair.
Yeah, you killed it for me. Like when you did that, I was like, "What? He's not dead?
Wait,
this is
dumb." Whatever they want to do.
Shut this boy down. Shut it down.
Anyhow, yeah, it really was a team effort. I think young me, played by John Brannigan, that kid nailed that role.
He was phenomenal as well.
And he, just sang his heart out. Most of the cool adventure-y parts are all his, so he gets to do all the fun, whimsical stuff.
I feel like your younger self and then your wife had like the best voices.
They really had.
I mean, they were like
voices,
You could tell they were trained.
Yeah, he's straight up musical theater major. Like, he graduated from Florida State, came over here, was like, all right, I'm going to do some musical theater. And while I'm waiting, I'll get my degree in IT, but I'm also going to continue to do this musical theater stuff. And he's just working his chops at the local community theater. And thank God I met him. I'm just so glad that I got to be in a play with the guy, because he's a talented kid, and he's 22 and he's got a bright future ahead of him. I mean, but like, it was so cool to be.
They said about me too. But,
Yeah, right.
Who said that?
I bet, Josh. So, but I just think it was fun to be his older self, the less whimsical, the more real version of him. And it was a fun challenge to kind of play that. And people who have been in the play before and have played Edward came up to me and John, and they were like, wow, I never thought when I did it, I was Edward the whole way through. Right. And so all you get is a one-toned Edward. You get that guy, but doing it where you split it up, you get kind of a bit more of a dual Edward, right? Cause we're both not the same person.
Right.
But there's something about that that's sort of more true than if you just have the one Edward, right? Because the old Edward's changed. He's more real. He's more, And that I think is what kind of separated us from most of the productions that have been done in town.
I can see
is
that.
the two Edward kind of duality of it I think it helped a lot of people go, man, I really like that, a whole lot more. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's how the movie was done.
right. And we
You know.
we played it more like the movie.
Yeah,
and,
it was perfect.
So, but yeah, I had a lot of people come up to me and go, man, that was cool to see two Edwards, because that's really the way we should have been doing it. We were just, Jerry over here was always the Edward through the whole thing. And, you kind of just stick with, that one guy just gets the whole role. He's just more worried about getting all the lines, all the songs he's got to remember.
Mm-hmm.
And he might lose some of that duality of, somebody getting older and kind of getting more cranky and getting more jaded. Not that I was, my Edward, I felt like he was still trying to be the dad joke Edward,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't the magic was kind of missing, It's like a little bit of that magic for me was gone. I've lived my life. I've done what I needed to do to feed my family. I'm the businessman. I'm still going to crack the jokes, but what I used to do wasn't so magical, which is why Edward ruins the wedding. Kind of, he does a lot of things. You're just like, oh, it's bad. It doesn't look good, man.
Because there is a part where older Edward, your character, snaps at his son, and you can feel it. Like you could feel that, like, whoa, like he was a jovial kind of older guy, and then all of a sudden you're like, because younger Edward doesn't
mad
snap.
at this kid. Yeah, this kid's driving me nuts. Because his kid is so analytical, right? It's more, he's more like A-type personality or whatever he is. He's more, trying to figure out life. He's analytical. Like all the words he says in the play, I mock. He's like sustainability. I'll mock him on sustainability, or statistically. I'm mocking him when he says statistically, or a technicality. I mock him when he says technicality, because I'm just like, and my joke to him when he's saying, well, I don't want to jinx it or whatever. And I say, Lord will, I'd hate to see the rainbows in your world. I bet they're all shades of gray. I just look at this kid and I'm like, how did I bird this kid that is so mathematical and, not emotion based, but fact based. I'm so emotion and I can hardly contain it. And here I am stuck with this kid who it's interesting, And so I think that getting to play that only was very good. Not only because it's my first musical and I don't think I could have done the full character, right? And John definitely could have, right? He could have totally taken my lines.
Sure, but I think
it would have lost a little bit of
the
it would have lost a little bit of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Real duality to it, where you because when you are a kid, you might be whimsical and you might be into the magical, and you're just a creative, and you're going out there and you're just making life, and then life hands you back things that it's going to hand you back, and you get beaten down. And, by the end of it, when you're 80 or 70 or 60 or 40, whatever you are, or whatever, he would probably been in his 60s, I would imagine. You're tired, your neck hurts, your kids drive you crazy, the jokes don't land like they used to.
Yeah.
People look at you different. You're just the old bearded, fat, smelly guy, You're no longer the kid, that's just the young-faced kid, but you're that
out there, bright-eyed
dude.
and bushy-tailed and ready to take on the world. You kind of get a little more jaded by the world,
and just like I don't know,
but still trying to be a shadow of your former self, right?
Exactly.
Like, still trying to be humorous, still trying to be
relevant, but you just can't hit the jokes.
The world's
like to
just beating you down. Look, I mean, like Tim right now. Tim's got.
I've got a TENS unit on. I do. I don't know what's wrong.
The world's just beating you down, man.
It is. Well, I mean, this whole year has been health problem city for me. I've had all sorts of weird things happening, colds and COVID and all that. I feel like, but now I've got this weird muscle cramp in my arm that drive me nuts. But yeah, and so I think that was cool that I got to play that side of it, right? And it really meant a lot to me I really did want to be more of the enemy in the show. If you would have asked me, the first night I finished, I went out to the back and I went, people came up to me and they'd go, Tim, you made me cry. Stop it. And I love that. I go, ha, 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 ha. I'd laugh at them. Not laugh. I'd go, yes, that's good. That's what I wanted, because that to me is, I did my job. But then I would also ask, did you get mad at me? Did you get like, oh, that made, that frustrated me when you said that or did that at the wedding or whatever. And I was hoping somebody would be like, yeah, you really pissed me off. And I'd be like, yes, good. Because I mean, I like the villain sometimes. I think the villain can be a lot of fun. I know, like,
yeah, I think
if you
can
play it right.
yes, if you play the villain right, I think there's not as many restrictions on where you can take a character with a villain, right? Like, you can kind of go off the rails, and that's okay because you're the bad guy.
Yeah.
Like, if you're playing the good guy, or whatever,
dark. You can
go a little dark. You can go much darker. But if you're playing the good guy, like, you really have to stay within these guidelines, man. You have to watch the way that you respond to people because you're the good guy.
Yeah, exactly.
When you're the bad guy, it's I think sarcasm and snartiness, like, that just comes natural to us. So.
Yeah. Yes. So not that I was a villain. Obviously I wasn't, but like, there are moments where I am it's just like so awkward. And I definitely liked playing that tension of the awkwardness, right? Where you're just like, ooh, he's really doing that after all his son asked him, like, don't give a speech. Here I am, I'm giving a speech, Yeah. And I mean, don't, it's just all the stuff. Like, it's just great. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with it, and I will do it again for sure. So keep your eyes and ears open. We'll let you know, people of Atlanta.
That's right.
People of the world, people of the podcast world.
People of the podcast world, make yourselves out to bring yourselves and your family out to Forsyth County, Georgia, and catch Tim in his next play.
It'll be fun. I don't know what it'll be, but I'm sure it'll be fun.
Oh, it's going to be awesome. And then, Josh, you know where Josh just got back from?
Columbia,
South Carolina.
Oh, okay. So we were wondering. We were like, wait, is this Columbia?
No, actual Columbia.
Yeah. Okay. So
my good friend, I was the best man in a wedding.
Oh, wonderful.
So it was a full-on Colombian wedding, full-on cathedral and parading in the streets and the reception. We even had like Colombian dancers come, and it was beautiful. It was better than I thought it was going to be. I was impressed.
Wait, so you were in Colombia?
Yes.
Not
the country, Colombia.
Okay.
Yeah. I was in Cartagena.
Nice.
But
that sounds awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really travel a whole lot. I stayed in Cartagena. I was only there for 5 days, and it was a great cultural experience.
Oh, I bet.
So I mean, obviously I like to travel more when I go to countries, but it's also harder in some of those. South America is a little bit more difficult to travel in than in parts of Asia or Europe. Yeah.
And now I've got a question for you. Now, so I have a guy that does my lawn, and he's Hispanic, and they invited us to their wedding reception, and there was some sort of thing where everybody has to like try to push the bride off a chair or something like that. Did they do anything like that? There's some weird thing where they wanted me to go up and push the. No, but it was like,
I love her, but I don't really care for her.
No, it was
too
like
much. Everyone can push her off the
accepted.
chair.
Yeah, everybody. I forget what it was. I have to ask my wife. I forget.
No,
it was something strange like that where you're
last
like,
time I was
you really
best,
want me to?
Last time I was the best man. I was it was an Indian wedding, and I had to. There's an interesting tradition where the bride's family has to try and steal the shoes off the groom. And then it's up to the best man to like fend them off, which is really awkward because I'm like fending off like his mother-in-law. So it was just weird. And
punch her.
I still don't.
Just punch her in the face.
I know, right? No, and they go like serious with it. So it's and then they hide, like they end up like the whole wedding, like they end up like hiding the shoes, and it's this whole thing, and like
funny.
The ones who find it gets like money or something. It's a whole. I mean, it's cool. It wasn't really explained to me very well.
Right.
I had just gotten done like playing the drums for 20 minutes, so
but
I
tell
was
them
a little
the kind of drum.
disoriented.
Like, you weren't playing like a set of drums. What were you playing? Tell them.
oh god, what I forgot the name of the drum. It's the
djembe?
it's the big one where you hold around you hold it around your shoulders and you're just and I'm dancing, leading the parade, and it was with the full garb.
But why
and
you?
just
They were like, hey, let's get the
profusely.
white guy to lead the parade. Where do you meet all these people? Like, you've got all these like cool friends from other.
No, and this was my friend like up here in Cherokee County, like I went to high school with, like my good old boy.
Wow.
Like he married a beautiful, wonderful Indian woman, and it was. I mean, this was down in South Georgia. This wasn't like one of those like legit Indian weddings where it was like multiple days and all that. They didn't do it like that.
Right.
But it did have a little bit of traditional character, a little bit traditional flair to it. But yeah, no, both times I've been best man has been an international experience.
Jeez.
That's awesome, though.
So, I'm wondering what my next one will be.
I was going to say, what? Wow.
Probably good old Southern Baptist,
Yeah.
which is probably more foreign to me than most of these
easy.
others.
You know, that must say something about my character. I have never been asked to be a best man, ever.
I don't think I typically am.
Mine's only really been in the past 4 years. And even then, it was only been like twice. It depends on like how location, because a lot of your friends probably have moved away too. You've moved around.
Well, I've moved away.
And a lot of times men will go after people who are close to them,
That is true.
like location wise.
But you think like I'd be a
depends
good enough friend to where they'd be like, Todd, I know you moved away 4 years ago, but like, would you please come back? I'm getting married. Like, would you be my best man? Like, none of that's happened, dude. I must be a shitty person.
You know, I wonder what the percentages are, you know, out there where your average man probably doesn't get asked that. You're not alone.
I'm probably, if my best man would probably be my sister. I might make her my best man.
That's good. Yeah, I've had that. I've seen that happen before.
I think I thought about that. I mean, I thought about doing that.
So you wouldn't choose either of us, Tim or I.
I would want both of you to do it. So you both have to wear this extra large shirt, and you have to be like a two-headed person, and that would be my best man.
Okay, so you have to
that
marry an Asian woman. You have to
would
marry an
be
Asian woman so we can be
fucking
like a dragon. We can be like the dragon coming down, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that would be awesome.
You know, I did something weird. I want to ask you this. This is strange. Do you guys think this is strange?
Yes.
When Michelle and I got Michelle and I got married. I don't know why. We didn't have a wedding party. Like,
Okay.
We actually didn't have one in Columbia either. They didn't really do the whole party thing. It was just best man and maid of honor, and that was it.
Yeah, and I think it was because, one, we were in Chicago. We wanted to keep things on the cheap, but you know, when you ask people to be your best man, or you know, the women have to line up and they got to go get their dresses and all that stuff. We just didn't want to hassle anybody. We just were like, you're all our best people. We don't want to narrow it down and dwindle it down. So we just it was just the two of us and the pastor, which people thought was a great. I think they thought it was a nice ceremony.
Those were my parents. My parents did the same thing.
We just thought, like, let's keep it simple. Let's get this done.
Yeah.
We don't need to make it a big crazy. And it was a beautiful service. People had a good time, and but you know, we didn't make it this whole crazy. You know, I've got 7 guys on my side, and she's got 20 girls on her side, and we got to do. Yeah, we just kind of kept it simple. I enjoyed that. I thought that was fun. You know, but I don't. Is that weird? I guess it's probably weird.
No, it's not weird.
Well, yeah. I mean, you got to wonder, like, I just looked it up. Like, where did that tradition even come from? So the tradition of having a maid of honor and best man has its roots in ancient European customs. However, the specific history of the maid of honor and best man tradition can be traced back to colonial times and has evolved over the years. So kind of saying it there that it's mostly going to be a white thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know why. Like, I still want to know why.
Because somebody else did it.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of odd because it's really just bringing two families together. That's the grand tradition. Is that you're literally saying these families now share resources.
Yeah.
So I understand like the best man, the maid of honor, like they're sort of like, I've always heard the best man was sort of the protector. Like he protected the groom from the woman's family in case it got bad, in case there was bad blood.
Yeah, that's
And
interesting.
but it's like, I don't know why we have a whole wedding party. There's no use for them. There's no,
Just to look cute.
because the wedding party is the families.
I know.
Like, that's the wedding part. They're the ones who are truly involved, who are
Right.
invested, who are affected by this. So I don't know
Yeah.
why we have a separate group of friends. I don't know where that came
yeah, at some point we just were like, oh, we got to do this and that, and this is how things are done. And yeah, Michelle and I were kind of like, we don't need to do that. Let's just make it simple.
So it says here, this is pretty cool too. It says typically it is a bride's closest friend or sister, right? Bridesmaid. And it says maid of honor. Tradition of a maid of honor and bridesmaid is thought to have originated from Roman law, which required 10 witnesses in order to outsmart evil spirits.
Wow,
These evil
I
spirits
see.
were believed to be present at all marriage ceremonies. Fuck.
Well, jeez.
Hmm,
Yeah.
Jeez.
Okay.
I followed that.
So
I
in
feel like these are
census-
just a bunch of
census is
random
kind of-
answers.
Yeah, that could be. Could just be the internet AI
Right.
answer.
Internet AI.
I had to, because being as a witness, we had to go up and sign. I had to sign.
That is true. There is
sign
a
a
witness
book
side of it.
up on by the altar. So me and her sister, who is the maid of honor, we walked up to the altar and we had to put our signature down.
Josh, it would be her sister and I.
Her sister and I. Thanks, Todd. Thanks.
That one was for my wife because it happens to me all the time. There you go,
That's
honey.
funny.
I've corrected the world in grammar.
Good job.
Yeah, so I just thought it'd be fun today to just catch up because it's been a while since we've
Yeah.
done a cast and kind of let people know what we've been up to. But one of the things I did find, we were kind of going down this rabbit trail, like you said, Josh, of, JFK and the presidential race and what's coming up. And it's kind of a hot topic right now because we're in the race this year. We'll have a new president by the end of this year.
Yeah.
I am a big fan of Robert Kennedy Jr.
Interesting. Oh.
I am. This guy, I guess he's Democratic, but he almost seems like old school, like his dad and
Like his
and,
brother. I mean,
uncle.
like his uncle.
Yeah. I really like what this guy says. I mean, he's an environmental attorney. Is that correct, Josh?
I don't know too
Pretty
much
sure
about
that's-
him. I haven't
'cause
done
he-
enough research on him.
Yeah, because it was the Hudson River that was like completely being dumped in with like chemicals from plants and and he sued them and got the Hudson River cleaned up. So that's kind of one of his big things. Another thing that he kind of stands on too is just how unhealthy our country is physically, even mentally. And that's one of the big things he wants to work on too is,
Mental health.
well, mental health, but also physical health. And I think it all kind of ties together.
Bring back
Um,
PE
Well, sure. But
and the
at
short
same
shorts.
time- oh,
Yeah.
gosh, bring back the short shorts for guys. Yeah, for guys especially.
God, my dad. I would
Yeah.
get pictures of my dad with them. Like, wow,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
wow.
You got to wear tidy whities with those. You have to,
Woo.
or your nuts are hanging. But no, one of the things was again health and how Europe has pretty much out. And again, this is where it gets tricky, man, because I'm more libertarian and I want less government in my life. But at the same time, when we have corporations that are making decisions, unhealthy decisions that are fed out to the masses. Those are some things like one of them is, as Europe does, is, they ban a lot of these dyes and these other chemicals that are used in our food. Europe has kind of done away with them. So if you get like some Europe snacks or even processed food, like it's processed differently. They're those things that have been deemed even unhealthy. Like, there's some of these colors, was it like red
Yeah.
6 or something, red 5?
Mhm.
That studies are showing there's a link to dementia with some of this stuff. And if you look here in the States, we are rampant with dementia right now. I've lost 2 family members to it. So when I hear Robert Kennedy Jr. talk about these things, like one of the first things he wants to do is clean up our food. I believe in it. I believe that's why we have a huge rise in dementia. I believe that's why we have a huge
Or even
rise
just depression.
depression for sure. I growing up, like if you said there was somebody with autism, I wouldn't be able to tell you what that even meant. No clue. Never seen it. Right. Even ADHD, that was just kind of a kid that just, maybe there was one in thousands. Like I don't, like you'd have hyperactive kids, but they were just kids. Like I don't remember it being. Now it's like everyone knows somebody. Everyone knows somebody that has a kid that has Asperger's or autism or ADHD, and it's like, where in the shit did all this come from? Now I know we kind of had that back then, but it wasn't like it is now. Cancer. Holy shit! Like to hear that somebody had cancer back in the day was like, wow. Now everyone I know has cancer or had some form of cancer. So where did all this come from? I believe it's part of it is our food system. Obviously,
Well, isn't there's a documentary about, I forget what coordinates there are between longitude and latitude, but there's like a healthy belt of people that don't deal with cancers. And it's a very Mediterranean diet,
Yes. Yeah. So they're called, like, I think blue zones.
Blue zones. Yeah.
Blue zones. Yeah. So in blue zones,
I watched a recent thing on that. Those are, it's amazing. It's amazing how, it makes sense. It makes 100% sense.
Oh, it does.
People are living so long.
They're active
I get
daily.
it.
Michelle's grandmother died at 98. But up into her early 90s, she was bowling. She was out in the yard. At some point, she fell, broke her hip, and that took a turn. But my point being is, up into her 90s, she was still very healthy, mentally, physically. And I think the reason was because she stayed active, where a lot of her other friends who were like even in their 80s would just kind of sit around because they were retired, they were grandparents, and they just sat around and then they sat around to die. Like their purpose in life, if you don't have a purpose. But so in some of these blue zones, what's fascinating is that these people are so active and they walk everywhere. Like they live in these little towns where they walk up these hills and these stairs and they walk and they're in their garden. It's not like they work all day, but they stay so active, right?
Is it like Southern Japan is known as one of the big ones?
I think Japan has an incredible health record. I mean,
there's actually one here in the States too. I can't remember. It's on the West Coast somewhere. Can't remember if it's Arizona.
We probably
or
saw
California.
the same show.
We did, yeah.
My sister watched the whole thing.
I did
but
too.
It's like it comes down to what you eat, keeping moving, and also community, like family,
community,
like having.
yes, Josh.
You're basically you're feeding your mind, you're feeding your body, and you're feeding your spirit equally.
Yeah.
And
So in those communities, you can pretty much get rid of cancer. This is what it seems like. There is no dementia in these communities, and these people at 90 plus, they're all centenarians too. They're all 100 years old, and they're still moving. And they're still cognitive. Like they're not like, they're still alive. I mean, yeah, their bodies are aging and breaking down, but they're still pretty active. And in that documentary,
they aren't using a TENS unit.
They're not using a TENS unit at how old are you? 46.
Is that the electromagnetic thing?
Yeah, it's a little.
I need one for my lower back.
Oh, I love it.
When do you get it?
Good.
Like
I like to put them
CVS?
on my balls.
Amazon. Yeah, put it on your balls, everybody.
Okay,
Put
I'll
a
do that
TENS unit
too.
on your balls and turn it up.
Yeah.
I'm game. I'm always game for something new.
Yeah, put it on your balls. Check it out. So there was, I think it was that same documentary they were talking about. There was a guy who lived out on the West Coast, originally from Italy, the small village in Italy, had moved to the States like as a young man. And basically he became this older guy. I think he was in his maybe 70s at the time, maybe 60s. And he was diagnosed with, I want to say it was cancer, but a rapid form. Like they were like, dude, you've got 6 months type thing, right?
And he's 6 months.
Well, right. But in this, he said, well, okay. So if you're telling me I'm about to die, he's like, I'm going to go back home. I've lived a life here in the States. I'm going to go back to my small village. Dude went back to his small village. And when they interviewed him, he was like 90 something, 98 or something like that.
Wow.
And they asked him, they said, what happened? Like, you were diagnosed for death, basically. And he said, I guess I just forgot to die. which is true. Like he started living a life instead of, worrying about this and worrying about that. And, over here in the States, man, especially, it's so stressful to make your mark. And in these blue zones, making the mark's not a priority. Living, hanging out. And they all drink wine like crazy. They all drink. Like it's a matter of living your life and enjoying your life in community and staying active. And I think that's one of the things. And I think a lot of them too, like a lot of them at their age weren't even taking prescription medicines. So that goes back to another thing that like Robert Kennedy Jr. is talking about too, is if you watch any show nowadays that has any commercials on, right? It's obviously not Netflix, but if you have any program, Hulu or whatever, and you're not paying for the premium and it has commercials, how many prescription drugs commercials do you see throughout that day?
And I've got a little stand-up bit that I want to do someday about it too. It's like, how many do we see? And okay, here you go. What's the big deal with all these medical companies? Actually, okay, I won't be Seinfeld. No, I just think it's funny. You'd
that
be
was
sitting
Seinfeld.
There, well, whatever you want.
He nailed it,
yeah.
dude.
What's the big deal? Who's that?
If he's constipated.
Yeah. I didn't say that I was a good Seinfeld guy, but I was just, he was my inspiration. No, I just think it's interesting that they're coming out with all these drugs, but they don't even have like the alphabet to name them. So they're just kind of like, just go up to the keyboard. Look, we'll call this one Glip Glap. And you're like sitting there in the living room. You're like, wait, what? Did they just say Glip Glap?
How's that? How'd you even come up with that word?
I know. And then so take Glip Glap because it's going to help you with your thing. And you're like, I don't even know what that thing is, but okay.
I might need it.
But then I'm thinking like in the next iteration of drug names, they're just going to start doing emojis, They're running out of the alphabet. It'll be emojis and numbers. So anyway,
we go back to hieroglyphics.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're doing now. Like if you look at like any text, it's all hieroglyphics. I want to go back to cubiform. I think that was pretty cool. Cubiform. But that's one of the things that he says, well, listen, you can't run cigarette ads anymore. Why? Well, because the cool lifestyle promoted to children, or even people who are susceptible to influence, they want to start smoking, right? So think about it. Since they've cut cigarette ads, I mean, cigarettes, now vaping is the thing, whatever, but cigarettes, smoking, like people kind of stopped doing it,
Well, and then they took it out of bars and clubs too.
Right.
For the most part.
When Ireland got rid of like banned smoking in pubs, I was like, that's it. The world's coming to an end, guys.
Yeah. Everybody was like, oh no. But I kind of like it.
I smoked for many, many years and, but I never liked smoking indoors. I never liked it. It was just, I don't know. And that smell afterwards, like even today, like if I smell somebody smoking, but I don't like the smell of smoke on somebody.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
I don't like the aftertaste either.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Tastes like an ashtray in your mouth.
Yeah. Cigar is different, but
I would think I would start with a pipe again. I think any type of smoking again. I think I'd go back to cigarettes, but a nice big pipe, like a German pipe.
I do like
classy.
Yeah. So what else about this Robert Kennedy do you like? Because I don't know much about him. I think if anything, it's too bad that I hate having a third option this year. I think it sucks because unfortunately it's going to take away.
Oh!
It's going to take away from.
Say it.
Well, I know you say, but
it's not going to take away enough, though.
But I mean,
well, I know what you're saying.
Talking about. We're talking. Okay, so I think John Stewart even said it best. There's really no win with whether it's Biden or Trump. There's no win either.
No, it's either one of those is a loss for our country.
But I would rather try to keep democracy, as much as I know about it, going, then what could become an autocracy?
Sure. Sure.
So that to me is scary. That's a little like, ooh, yeah, man. And so when I think about Kennedy coming in, it's like, that's cool. And that's a third option. And I'm glad he's there. But I'm also like, oh boy, what's this going to do? Because it's already, the numbers aren't good anyway. But
sure.
And maybe he becomes president and then it's a totally new thing. And that might be fun. But
well, that's the thing, is that's kind of what I would like to address is I hear what you're saying, and I've heard it for many years, and I think that we've heard it so much that I think we've heard it for a reason. That, if you do that, you're giving it, like, okay, for an example, if you're pro Trump and you're going to vote Trump and you vote Kennedy instead, then you've given a vote to Biden. I hate that because I think the majority of Americans are on the fence and don't want either of them. But we have to choose between one or two. What if we all chose three? What if we all chose three instead of saying, but I'm serious.
No, I hear that, but unfortunately, it's just, I don't know.
And in all the years that we've had,
it's not a three-party system.
But that's where we need to change it. In all these years that we've had because there's been third parties that run. There are so many third parties. There are tons of them. But out of all these years, this is one guy in a third party that makes sense. Like, some of the other ones were just kind of silly, and you could go, oh man, like, really? Like, so I think this is for the first time
Ralph
in a long
Nader.
time, at least. Right. Ross Perot. Can I finish? I'm a billionaire from Texas. But no, I think for the first time, this is a legit option of a third choice. And I've said it for years, and I wish that, and I get it, that, hey man, listen, if you do it, you're taking a vote away, and maybe Biden gets back in. Because if you have all the Trumpers who lean a little bit more right, or even just people who lean right, they go, well, I'm not leaning left, I'm definitely leaning right. So I can't vote for this Kennedy guy because I like him, but what's the reality that he gets in, right? So let's just do Trump. Well, I hate that because I feel like there are millions and millions of people that would literally vote for Kennedy Jr. And is he the savior? No, that's not what I'm saying. But I think another option is healthy, and I think there's things that if you haven't look him up. I mean, we have some months left until we have to make a decision, but I think he's a solid decision,
The only way that a third party will develop is, for example, for Trump, is if Trump didn't get the nomination, he would go off and do his own independent. You have to have someone who is already very well established. And unfortunately, Robert Kennedy kind of came on the scene kind of late. Like someone like Bernie Sanders, like we're used to him, we're familiar with him. Like it's going to take someone like a Bernie or a Trump to become an independent and do their own thing because they already have a following.
I hear what you're saying. But I think what I'm saying, though, and I agree with you, Josh, but I think what I'm saying, though, is even though Robert Kennedy Jr. came on late, he still came on with a bang opposed to other third-party entries we've had over the years. Like, he hit so hard, it was like, whoa, who's this guy? And I know other third parties, and like I said, I'm more of a libertarian than I am anything else. A lot of times I see the candidates, and I'm like, I get it, but man, there's something about you that just doesn't work, So for me, this is the first time I see a third party, and I go, wow, guys, we could potentially shake the system.
Well, Todd, you better take off your headphones right now. Take your mic. Go start knocking on doors, man. You better go be the RFK spokesperson.
Well,
Isn't that what it takes? It takes door to door going up. Are you going to vote? Well, here's the option,
I mean, it does. Yeah. Yeah.
You got to be the foot soldier.
Does. You got to be a good foot soldier. I know. And that's where I'm good, like having conversations with people about it. Man, I don't want to, I'm not a door knocker, dude.
I'm not either.
I'm not a door knocker. Like
That is such
And-
a
and
bad
it's
way
one
to
of those
go
things,
about
too.
it nowadays. I mean, yeah.
Right. And it's almost one of those things too. It's like, hello. Yeah. Have you guys considered Robert Kennedy Jr. for your next president? Oh, son, I'm diehard Republican, son. I ain't voting for no.
I'm gonna give you
Robert
5
Kennedy
seconds
Jr.
to leave
You better
with your
get off my porch, boy.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And then the opposite is, oh no, he's too yeah, I get it. He's more liberal, but he's too conservative for me. You know, I'm glad his dad and brother or uncle got shot because they was way too liberal.
Jeez. Yeah. Dark. But yeah, no, yeah, it's. We'll see what happens.
I'm just saying, it's so important. It's like a Jehovah's Witness coming up and knocking on your door when you have your faith locked in, right? Like, you know, hey, have you considered Joseph Smith?
My old church, they would come up to my old youth pastor, and he lived in like the parsonage, which is like a house on the property of the church.
Yeah.
And they came up to the house, and you're like,
Of course they
see
did.
where we're like, this is literally
Do you
a
not
Christian
see?
church.
Yeah.
But
Have you not heard?
Yeah, which is it's fine. It's just funny. You're like, do you not see the big building next to me?
I don't know. I have a no solicitation sign. They still come up. I'm like
that
pointing at
doesn't
the
matter,
sign
man.
from my window. No.
I've got a 6 foot like pirate that like it's an old thing that my parents had gotten. So it's like the 6 foot pirate that stands at my front door to help like weird people out.
That's
Hopefully
funny.
They don't. Well, yeah. True story.
Let's do this. Let's go into the near future. So it's 2024. Let's see, November 2024.
It's November 2020.
The night of the election.
The night of the election.
Oh,
And what happens if we
So
have a
sad.
Trump president? What are we doing? Are we moving?
Moving
to Canada?
No, we're not.
I'm not doing that.
I
I'm
mean,
just kidding.
here's the thing, though. Okay, so here's the
I wouldn't
only
do it
way that Trumpers, and again, I hate labeling people, but you know there are these diehards, man, and it is what it
Trumpists.
is. But here's the only way. It's going to go one or two ways if Trump gets in, and right now it kind of looks like, even though all this crazy, I guess whatever's calling it, you know, is the law issues that he's having or whatever. Even though that, people still love him. So if Trump gets in, it's going to go either way, either one or two ways in 4 years. He's either going to mimic his first run, and our economy is going to boost back up, and then you're going to have Trumpers for eternity. Because first 4
Yeah.
years, our economy was incredible. And Biden got in and it tanked. And Trump got back in and it went back up again. So Trumpers for life. Doesn't matter. He could murder somebody on live TV and people would be like, that's our guy.
That's
Right.
Yeah, that's the part I go, what?
The second way it's going to go
And
down,
he's got full immunity now. You know,
full immunity. It doesn't matter.
And he's gonna get rid of bring all the January 6 guys out. Yeah, this is gonna be interesting. Anyhow,
I still think for January 6th. Listen,
oh no, that's
I'm
funny.
not
I
a true
hear ya.
patriotic man, but when that came on and I was watching that on TV, I thought, well,
Burn it down.
maybe
huh?
maybe this will change something. Maybe
Yeah.
our government will change.
That's very true.
And
get
that's
that.
what I was excited for. And then it was like, oh man, nobody really did anything. Like,
Exactly.
you know, okay, whatever.
But
So the second way,
I don't know. It's anyway. Go for it.
Yeah. So the second thing I can see happening is he gets in and the economy just continues on this downward spiral, right? And all the things that he said he was going to do never come true. But then again, I think people still are in love with him. I also think if he gets in, I think he's going to spend the first 6 months undoing everything.
Yeah.
With some stuff.
And going after, he's going to go on a
No.
revenge.
That's the next 3.5 years. The next 3.5 years is him going after everybody.
Yeah.
Every state, every. Yeah. So then maybe he neglects the country because he's on a
revenge
so
tour.
vindictive, dude. He's so vindictive. And so he just goes after everybody.
And that's the part where I go, ugh. Sucks. And then of course we get Biden. Let's say it's Biden, Sleepy Biden. Then it's kind of back to normal. Like I guess I would say it's just play America per usual. Like kind of just with nothing getting done and all that. But it's just going to be more of the same. But you know what I mean? Like, and I kind of go, I would rather that, to be honest,
Yeah,
I would just rather
I'm with
like
you, Tim.
nothing changes. Let's just keep it cool. Let's just keep going as this like country democracy. And, figure this, we'll finally maybe one of these days get a good leader, but at least we'll have the option,
Be an interesting take because we talk a lot about like domestic issues and we can go night and day with all of those issues and what a Trump America would look like and what a Biden America would look like. And something my dad had said, and he grew up, conservative the majority of his life, but still kind of leans to the middle, partly from how I was raised. And he said, a president's job is primarily to protect us from outside influence. It's about protecting the border. It's about being a diplomat. I mean, because we have governors, we have senators, we have representatives to take care of the country. What they're really there, the president's really job is to kind of be the figurehead to halt and to promote whatever is happening internationally.
Set the bar, be the example.
Yeah, I mean, he has to be a diplomat,
and that's why
that's where the Trump America is concerning because Trump
isn't necessarily a
he's not a diplomat.
He's just more of a
and he's in it for himself too. And so it makes you wonder if he instigates something, is this gonna, what that looks like.
Yeah.
And it's unpredictable. He's much more unpredictable than a Biden is.
That's what I'm saying. And I know he's not. Look, I get it. The economy this, the economy that, and we'll all have to just live with that. Hopefully it'll get better, but I just would rather it be normal and even just the news, not that you have to sit and watch the news, but just for the news to not have to sit there and talk about Trump over and over again, and talk about something else would be nice. But all that to say,
I want and our most recent one would have been Obama, but like a JFK, like I just want a good speaker.
Yeah, right. Like
I want a good, eloquent, just. I miss the babble that Biden and Trump are they're just babble.
It's all noise.
Yeah. Stop making us look like idiots.
Right.
Our nation is not filled with idiots. Our leaders are.
But let's go with this Robert Kennedy Jr. Right? That's his name.
Yep.
It would be more an unknown, but I would imagine he would lean more towards like you're saying, a man who is concerned for the people, a man who's, and he's got the name to back it up where we all get it. We get it. He's a Kennedy. Kennedys are just political, it's almost like the Return of the King kind of thing,
Kennedy's like
family
some people
lineage.
say Kennedys are the closest thing to royalty. Like
They really are. They're American
family.
royalty. They really are. I mean, although I'm sure most of the Kennedys it's been quoted that most of the Kennedys don't like Robert Kennedy. So there's something with that, but nonetheless, it would probably be more or less the same, but with some, hey, let's give this guy a shot. Let's see what he can do. Rather than, the norm, let's see what he can do. But I think he would still stay within the democracy. So I would definitely go for him over Trump, obviously. But yeah, I mean, that'd be interesting to see him do it. I get you, Todd. I would much rather have some fresh perspectives, a new fresh leader with an interesting thing to offer. Hopefully it wouldn't get weird where he's like, doing it for himself, like, trying to, I don't know, but.
Well, let's, I found a political, I guess a campaign.
Again, we go back to our original conversation here. I would vote for Tim.
Well, there we go.
I would vote for Tim. Tim.
But, and honestly, this is weird because I was saying this to Todd before you even got here, Josh. I think I was saying, like, I think it would be fun. I've actually said this to God. Like, if God, once upon a time, God chose kings for his country, right? For the country of Israel, right? He had a prophet run out to a family and said, all right, here's your sons. Okay, good. Are these all of your sons? Oh, one's missing. He's out herding sheep. What's his name? David? Okay, yeah, bring him in too. And as soon as he met David, he was like, I want this guy to be king, right? And that's the kind of magical, like, if that could happen in America, I think that would be cool, like, to be just told by God, you are going to be king, right? And I'm going to make a great leader out of you.
They did. Yeah. Is that what people are saying, that Trump is like, divine intervention?
Yeah.
Well, and to be honest, that's what's really interesting about about that is,
which is bullshit. Just so I can say on the record.
Well, absolutely.
Thanks,
and
Biden's the savior.
None of them are saviors. Nobody is a savior, right? And for them to even equate him with the return of Jesus or something makes me even more sick and really more worried that now we're not talking about just a guy. We're talking literally about a possible antichrist. So that's a whole other discussion. Now I'm waiting for him to be mortally wounded in his head, and then he comes back and he's even creepier. But no, I think that, yeah, I've often thought, like, wouldn't it be cool to just be given the reins and it is just like, and just come at it with like talk about fresh blood. I don't have a history of, getting involved in some scandal. I don't have histories, and you can't, you might find out my search history wasn't perfect or something, but not like some crazy scandal, lining my pockets with money. But, to take an average American like that, who has good sensibility, good leadership quality, just cares for people, and can also speak well in front of a camera, and just, not saying me, I'm just saying somebody like you're saying that could do that and do it well and be kind and be loving and caring about just do it with grace and humility and really be a leader, be a servant of all, right? That's what the president is to me. The president, or any leader in this world, should be technically the servant of all, to serve you, to serve everyone, and to listen to you and give you your time and to go, yeah, I want to serve and help you with that. And I don't know how to do that just yet, but I want to tell you, I'm going to put my team on it, and we will figure something out that's best for everybody as much as possible, And that's the kind of leadership I think it would be awesome to give back to in America, where people go, I trust that guy. And, that guy would give me the shirt off his back, not that guy is, you're not supposed to look him in the eye kind of thing, right? Don't look at him in the eye, right? He's the extreme leader. No, I would rather be have a humble person that would lead and lead strong. Not just, he's not a weakling, but he's going to lead and lead with love and compassion and be a servant, a true servant to the public. I think that's what would be great to have.
No, you're 100% right. And that's kind of where I go back to finding someone different. Like, I don't think we find that in these two parties right now. I think a third party is going to come at it from a perspective that is people. And let me, this almost 3-minute video of Robert Kennedy Jr. kind of talking about, I'm creating a new political party. So let's watch it and see what he has to say. See if you guys like it.
Yeah.
What we need in the United States is not division. What we need in the United States is not hatred. What we need in the United States is not violence and lawlessness, but is love and wisdom and compassion toward one another.
Every nation has a darker side, and the easiest thing for a politician to do is to appeal to our hatred and our anger and our bigotry and greed and xenophobia and all the alchemies of demagoguery. My father and my uncle had a vision for America, a vision of racial harmony, of prosperity for all Americans, of peace in the world, and of honest government. Their lives were tragically cut short. and America took a different path. Yet the possibility they foresaw is still alive, the America that almost was and yet may be. I've been fighting corporate corruption my entire life, but I understand that today the problem is much larger than a few crooked individuals. The problem is a system that no longer serves the people, and a people who are so divided and so fearful that they are easily ruled. It's time to unlearn the reflexes of fear and blame and find ways to unify ourselves and turn our country around. I won't pretend to you that it will be easy, but I know what it will take. My father said it: love, wisdom, and compassion toward one another, and that's where we need to start. We will scale down the war machine and bring our resources home. We will rebuild our water systems, repair our roads, modernize our railroads, and clean up our environment. We will also clean up government and earn back the people's trust. We will end the secrecy, the censorship, and the surveillance. We will again be a fearless land of liberty.
The cost of freedom is always high, but Americans have always paid it.
We will face honestly the darker parts of our history, the genocide, the racism, not to shame or blame or punish, but to repair as best we can in a spirit of compassion and kindness toward all. I'm inviting all of you to join me to create an America that we can believe in and be proud of again. I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and I'm running for President of the United States.
Well,
Sounds good.
I mean, I like it. One thing I gotta say though, what is going on with that man's voice?
Sure.
Holy
Yeah.
cow!
I think
It
a lot
sounds
of
like
people
he
have
ate like a frog or something.
Sure. Yeah, he has. There's some
it's
type of
sorta-
disease that has affected
Oh, okay.
his.
Sorry.
his
I didn't
vocal
know. I just like, oh, it makes me hurt. Like I'm like,
I
ow.
like the raspiness
And you want to go out and
after a drink and a cigarette.
Holy cow. So, I mean, I definitely think that's cool that it's we the people, you know, and obviously he's right. There's total, we're all being lied to with this whole two-party thing. It really is like I don't know. Yeah. I don't know much about it, but it definitely is.
Establishment.
I can see
Sure.
where it is. It's just like, why do we have to have these two parties, right?
Oh, yeah.
And
just to
greed and corporates and corporate money, greed, lobbyists, all that stuff, of which I know nothing about.
well, yeah, but that's the thing is I think he nails it on that's what's going on, and we're all fully aware of it. However, we still keep voting
Right. We're just
for the same
insane.
shit.
We keep doing
Doesn't
the same
matter.
thing. We're the definition of insanity right now.
Exactly.
Just
And
doing
so
the
everybody
same
knows-
thing without.
I just wanted to say, like, so the raspy voice thing that he has, just so everybody knows, and it can be a little off-putting, I think, and that's what people, I guess, have a hard time looking past. But he actually
it's
does
just
have
like, oh my god, it
It's-
sounds
it's-
like it hurts.
it right, but he actually has it's a neurological disorder that produces muscle spasms in the vocal box, and it's called spasmatic dysphonia.
Oh, I've
so
heard about
that's-
this.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's what he has, and that's why his
There's
voice
certain
sounds
pastors that struggle with this.
Sure.
Have had it over the years. Okay, interesting. No, I'm sorry. I was trying to be funny, but it wasn't funny.
No. But that's the thing is, I think a lot of people when they first hear it, it is like, whoa, like what is that? You know, like I don't know. But then when you realize it's it's not because the dude smoked a ton or whatever.
No, of
It's
course
just
not. It's
you know,
it just sounds so interesting, and I can imagine it being somewhat made fun of course. You know, just it's the natural way of it. You know, right? Everybody has something to joke about, and they'd probably hit right on that button right there.
He's got nice
Mhm.
hair.
He's a very handsome man. Very.
Yeah, he's a
handsome
very,
man.
very. He looks just like, any Kennedy. I mean, if you didn't know he was a Kennedy, you could go, "Man, is that guy a Kennedy?"
Yeah, the
You know,
eyes.
He's
Yeah.
got the look. He's got what was it? His what was the JFK's brother who was in Congress for years? What was that guy's name?
Ted Kennedy.
Thank you, Ted Kennedy. He's kind of he looks.
Was
like
that his brother?
Was
Or
it his
that
brother?
was that his?
I don't know. I can't remember
uncle? I can't remember either.
that guy. I don't know if he was any
That
good.
friggin' guy.
He seemed like he was definitely a shyster.
his dad and his uncle were just, they were on to something. I firmly believe it. And again, it was before my time, and I'm just going off of what I've seen, what I've read, things like that. But they were on to a different America, and we were on a path for something else. And on that path for something else, it didn't go along with the agenda of a larger government and a larger military and a larger presence within the world. It went on with, let's fix home. Let's work on home, right? We still have to pay attention to what's going on around us, but let's focus on home. And you know what? If you talk about big government, that's not what they want, man. They don't want that. They want power and control. The only reason racism right now is so much stronger than it's ever been. Like, dude, we're Gen X. Tim and I are Gen X. Josh, you're not too far behind us, but we didn't care about race, dude. We were like the first generation that we all got along.
Yeah.
You know, now there were things that were still broken. There were things that needed to be fixed 100%, man. But that's a generation who we are. And now it's so, dude, it's back. And we're like, what?
Yeah.
So I love his message of peace and harmony. I believe that's where his dad and his brother were. They wanted an America that looked at our past. We all learned from our past. And you know, Robert Kennedy will even say too, like, there's no point in tearing down statues. Like, keep them up there so that we can remember it. Maybe we change the plates on there, right? Like, yeah, this guy won this war, but you know, also wasn't a great dude. Just here's the actual history. You know, if we erase the past and we tear all these things down and we get rid of them, then we are destined to do it again.
Yeah,
we will.
To repeat it.
You know, and we need wise men, like he said in that video. We need wise men, wise women. We need wise people who have lived a life and have seen a life that can now teach us, teach our children, and help us all move forward together as one. I feel like this guy's it right now. Trump is
Tim,
not it.
I think Todd can be your vice president.
I'll be VP, Tim.
I think so.
But I
Definitely
mean,
my best man.
thanks, buddy. On your next marriage?
Yeah, I hope not.
Thank you. I hope not either.
But yeah, no, I mean it's good. I think you know. I thank you for educating me. I don't know much about politics. You know, I only from what I get from the news. You know, and right now it's all Biden, Trump, right?
Right.
Which is obvious. Because
Well, that's why I want to
because
put
that's
it out
where
there.
the money is. That's where the corporate pie is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it would take a miracle to get him to be president, though. I do think it's going to take a complete, like, working group of people that aren't afraid to go knock on doors, you know, and say,
Yeah.
hey, have you looked at this video? Watch this video, you know. Here's Robert K. Kennedy Jr., and he's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because right now it's so just inundated with all the other stuff, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is, but it's stuff like other podcasts that he's been on, larger platforms, even to us with smaller platforms where we're just talking about it. That's where it's at, man. I mean, if people are talking about it, I mean, a lot of my friends that I've talked to that have been kind of hearing about him and following him, they're like, I think that's our guy. So I believe, like, there's no other time in my life that I remember there being a third party option where other people were talking about it and saying, like, I think that's who I'm going to vote for. Right. Like, I always find myself going like, I think I'm going to vote for this other party or something like that. And people are like, who? I have no idea who that is. Like, no.
Right. I get you.
This is a different
one
time.
actually makes sense. This one
makes sense. And I hope
this one has the bread and butter. No,
Yeah.
that's not the right word. I
like it though.
The old school. I mean, he grew up and listened to his dad talk, right? He's got the old mentalities of the 60s, 70s, right? Where he was out there listening to his dad, understanding the heart of his dad, probably, right? Yeah. And I mean, it's genetic, right? It's a lot of it's genetic, and I'm sure been passed down through his family, right?
Oh, for sure. And imagine
that's where he's at,
right? And imagine your father and your uncle and your uncle is the president of the United States, are murdered
Right.
for their beliefs.
For this kindness, for this, let's be good. Let's
Right. Right.
be together, not divided.
Did Robert, what was it? Kennedy died first.
Oh, for sure.
And then Robert Kennedy,
JFK.
he died like close to MLK.
Real close. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
that was
no,
like
it was
so
it was
shocking.
It was
within
like
months.
a total season of just.
Yeah.
I mean, even John Lennon wasn't. he in there
1968.
somewhere?
No, John Lennon was in the.
Oh, a little
80s.
bit later. He was a little later. but,
1968. I think it was. That
yeah,
whole
so,
year
yeah.
was
it was
radical.
it was crazy. It
So
was
Kennedy-
a crazy time.
JFK president was killed in, I want to say it was 63. There in Dallas in the motor car parade thing that they were going through downtown. And then, I think it was 68 where we lost MLK and Robert Kennedy, almost back to back. I mean, it was within, it was within months. If
And
not
I mean, the
sooner.
morning that happened from
Well,
that.
yeah, I
was-
mean, think about it
it
from
really affected people.
from an American standpoint, not only from a community standpoint, from the black community to the white community, you had two leaders who were killed, murdered, because what did they want? What did they want?
Equality. Right.
Equality and
They have
peace.
And freedom.
They've got a good scene in the Elvis movie. Did y'all see the Elvis movie?
Yeah.
Oh no,
Yeah,
I haven't.
They had a good scene about that where it was on TV and like the whole crew was watching it, and
Oh wow.
Elvis
I'll have to
ended
watch
up
that.
writing a song, and I don't know how true or how accurate it is, but he ended up like going on screen and basically made his own song.
Wow.
It was a powerful scene. They did a pretty good job with that. But I think it was Robert Kennedy, right? Was it him who died and they were watching on the screen? I forgot. Anyway.
Yeah, no, that was I
They
want
mentioned
to say that was live on TV when that happened. Like it was.
Oh,
It
without
was-
a doubt, I think you're right. I think
Yeah,
they-
yeah. I think that was live on TV when it
Now,
happened.
who came right after Kennedy? We had Kennedy, and then I forget who our next president was.
Johnson. Johnson was
So-
vice president.
He was the
And-
vice president, and then after Johnson, we got
Well, Johnson won. So Johnson was immediately put as president, and then he
Right.
won a term after that.
then after that it was. I want to say Nixon, right? Is it
I want to
Nixon?
say Nixon too.
So think about it. We
it would have
went
been the
from
Vietnam, so yeah, it would have been Nixon.
we went from compassion.
Yep, Johnson, Nixon, Ford, Carter.
We went
Reagan.
from a compassionate leading presidential candidate to I'm a crook. And
Yeah.
by the way, I've heard quotes about Nixon is Trump loves Nixon. Like he was a super big fan of that. And I think that's interesting. You know, we kind of go away
Nixon
from
did a lot in the beginning of the presidency. He did a lot of international and a lot of good policies in that way. But he, like Trump, was very like he had a big ego.
Oh, he was a bulldog.
That's what I'm saying. We went
He was a
away
bully.
from
which is what people want.
right. Well, yeah. That's the whole thing. That's crazy. We went away from compassionate and caring to what I would say narcissistic and somewhat autocratic,
Yeah,
fascist
because
sorta-
there's money in bullying the world, and there's
Yeah.
money in war.
yeah.
There just is. And I think that's the thing. I mean, dude, the United States is a great trial. It's like, dude, it's this trial in democracy that hasn't really existed before.
Yeah, experiment.
And here we are with it, and it has such potential to work, and it kind of has worked, and but it's messy. And I feel like a Biden, I feel like a Trump is not a fix. It's not going to fix it. It's not going to guide things. It's not going to make things better. Either one of those are more dividing this nation, and they don't care. Dude, they don't care. Right? Like, if you really wanted to bring people together as a leader, why would you talk shit about the other person? If you're mad at your wife or your girlfriend, right, but you have kids together, you don't go in front of your kids and go, well, man, I would totally let you do that, but that fucking cunt.
Whoa!
She won't let you do it.
We're
right?
gonna have to
You
put
would
one of those
never
little
do
white
that.
E's next to our podcast, Todd. That was
nice. I've been using that a lot.
That was an R-rated word right there.
It is, but my
That was
point
an X-rated
being
word.
is that you
Respect.
You wouldn't do that. You would never do that because you want your kids to look at the leadership as united and strong so that they have faith in you. We don't have that.
No.
Our
Well,
leadership
and
talks
again-
shit about each other, and we
Again-
go, I don't know which parent I want to go with.
And now it really is becoming more like the movie Idiocracy, where it is a WWF
It's a circus.
circus. Yeah, it's like
And I
a-
mean, again, Trump is the one that really led that. He's the one
Yeah.
that allowed that into the gate. He really
Yeah.
started all that
Without a
and
doubt.
kind of unfiltered and stream of consciousness. And that's part of his draw. I mean, there's genius behind it.
There is,
Sure,
but he's not
it's
the
his
one
brand.
that led that. This has been going back and forth for many, many years.
But
Many
we
years.
tolerate it because of him. We would not have tolerated this when Bush was president. If Bush had said half the things that Trump said, it would not. And if Obama had said half the things he said,
Well,
he would
I
have been
think if you go
crucified.
back,
definitely.
You know, I mean, it's just it's not a political statement. He really did kind of open the gates to, like, you can say whatever you want, and even Biden's falling into that same thing.
yeah. I mean, I think you can go back to a few presidents. I mean, Reagan was probably one of them where, you know, even though you didn't care for him as a president, or you loved him, either way, he was your president. There was a time in American history where your president, even though you didn't vote for him, you respected him. Once he got in, you might not have liked everything he did, but he was your president and you respected him. We have lost that for many, many
You know,
years.
that's interesting that you know, you're saying that. I want to say that back in the day, right, when Ronald Reagan was president, we didn't have nearly the kind of pundit commentary. There wasn't 24 hours news. You know, it was a pretty simple. I would have loved, I guess what I'm saying is it'd be interesting to see a Ronald Reagan presidency today, because we would get so much different viewpoints, you know.
Oh,
Whereas
100%,
then,
yeah.
you know, all you had was Peter Jennings. You know, you had
Oh, yeah.
Dan Tom Brokaw, and
Tom Brokaw.
Tom Brokaw, Peter Jennings,
grew up with him.
Yeah.
and all those guys. You know, dude, just a quick little side note. I remember when, you know, something would go down, let's say President Clinton, when he was going through his stuff, or the war. Dude, I remember where complete takeover but from Peter Jennings on ABC. You would see nothing but Peter Jennings, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You remember those days? I know this
Oh,
is a
no.
little
Yeah, yeah.
off subject, but and now, you know, we don't have that anymore. Regular scheduled programming goes on, and it's because you can go over to MSNBC. But I don't think Carson and all those guys were nearly going after the president like a lot of the late night hosts are today. I mean, obviously they have they feel like they have a.
They did. There was a running jokes, and they did.
They did,
not-
but it wasn't nearly.
It wasn't
but
to
I'm going with-
destroy.
Yeah, what I'm
It
saying
was
is
never
it
to
kind of
make
goes
America
along with
look
what you're
bad.
saying about the
Yes.
respect side. There
Yes.
wasn't so much of a.
Yeah. You could poke fun, but you didn't go too deep. You're like,
You might roast, but yeah,
you would,
let's leave
exactly.
it. You might
would
roast it, but
Yeah.
now it's like it is because of the because
I mean,
of
you
the
you
open
watch the news
floodgates.
now, and they'll straight up say, like, you know, even when Trump was president or whatever, they would straight up say he's an idiot.
Oh, without a doubt.
I hear you, and it's not that I disagree, because I don't. But really, should we be putting that out to the world?
No,
that we think our leader's an idiot.
Well, it kind of goes back to a overarching, let's say, biblical principle. I mean, it definitely comes from the Bible. It's, I think, quoted straight out of Jesus's mouth, that a house divided against itself will not stand. And I think what we're seeing after 200 years of 300 years of being a country is a real interesting crossroads that we're at, where we can continue to divide and divide and divide, and then really it is just going to ultimately either be a civil war, will become a weird, crazy country that doesn't look like America at all. Or we gather together, we unite like the United States of America that we are.
Mm-hmm.
We got to get leadership in there that says, let's do that instead. Let's love, instead of hurting or, let's love one another. And when it comes to these hard decisions, let's love one another through how we make them, you know? When I go to any of these big crazy policies, nobody's happy, but like, wouldn't it be nice to have somebody that actually felt like he was truly a servant and was trying to love people through this hard decision that we've got to make?
Sure.
That nobody's really going to be happy with, and it would be so nice to get to that, but yeah, gosh darn it, if this world isn't just so corrupt with money and greed.
It is. And I feel like, again, I go back to Kennedy Jr. here, and I feel like he is that guy. And I feel like he's saying things that we need to be saying right now and acting a way that we need to be acting.
Yeah.
I hope that anyone who does hear this, and even for you guys here, my friends, I hope that you make a wise decision. And again, whoever you vote for, you have a reason to vote for that person. And I would never bash anybody for making a decision.
And that's
because
not
you
what
feel
it's
like,
about.
because you truly feel like it's the best decision.
Yeah. We
right?
need to be loving, even though that somebody chose.
Yeah. I mean,
we can't do that.
Yeah. I mean,
we can't be negative.
Yeah. If I have friends, I'm going to have friends that vote for Trump. I'm going to have friends that vote for Biden. It's just, it is what it is. Yeah. I'm making a plea to say, at least look at Kennedy and don't be afraid of you're taking a vote away. That only exists for fear. That's only a thing to say.
It's definitely been used as a fear.
It has been, and I hear what you're saying, Tim, because when you said it,
it struck a chord. You wanted to shut my channel off right away.
No, I did not.
You were going to take away my mic privileges?
No way.
My camera?
Never.
No,
never. But I hear it. But I hear it a lot every time I mention.
No, it's
it
true
to
because
anybody.
it's what we've been told.
It's what we've been told.
I'm just a parrot. I'm repeating what I've been told.
100%. And I've been guilty of it for years for saying that exact same thing. I won't say it anymore. I don't think it's true. I think
maybe that's
the way that that's the way that that's the reason there is a two-party system.
That's what the Illuminati what's the military industrial complex wants you to believe.
That's what they want you to believe.
They want you to believe that the vote will be taken away when you give your vote when really it might just change the world.
And the other thing too is that it doesn't matter. That's another one that I hear, that it doesn't matter. It does matter.
Oh, it matters, friends.
Well, it does matter. And it matters, like, even if you think that your menial vote, one vote, doesn't mean anything, it does, number one.
It does.
Number two, it means something to you. Like, at some point, and this is what I tell my wife and my friends, is like, at some point, I want to lay my head down and go, I made the best decision
the right thing.
I thought I could make for us, our family, my friends, and this nation by choosing that person. And if you believe that is one of the two-party candidates, that's what you believe. I'm just saying, let's open our minds to a possibility. And not all third parties work, man. Like, again, I've seen them, I've voted for them, and
But I do agree. This one is a skosh different, right? We're talking about a guy who listened to his dad, listened to his. He's been around the circles of people. He knows probably so much. Well, what is he does what law?
Yeah, he's an environmental law lawyer, I believe.
So, I mean, not that makes him a political genius, but he's been in there.
It doesn't make Trump a political
things.
genius, right?
No, well, exactly, right. Although, no, but I will say, Trump has a real gift of letting that oil run or water run off him like a duck, like it. Oh, yeah. Nothing sticks to that guy. So he definitely knows how to play a political game, a corporate version of it, where business is business, and I'll leave a wake of dead bodies if I have to. Right. And so he's smart there. He's street smart. He's Wall Street business smart, which that actually makes him even more unappealing to me, because that's that kind of crowd. I mean, talk about giving me an ulcer just thinking of it, makes me want to turn my tens unit up all the way.
Crank it up. Just end it.
Because that really is an interesting breed of humanity, Talk about a bunch of A-type personalities that all just get in a room and they're all bulls in a china shop, and a cutthroat, your ass is always on the line unless you do something good, so in a way he is good at the political game. It's just the wrong kind of political game.
Sure. And what you just said too, maybe we need to start looking at things that way as well. Leadership. There's not only leadership in
leadership and leadershipy, and he's leadershipy.
Sure. But yeah. But there too is like when you look at a leader in your family, when you look at business, if you look at the leader in your church, now also the leader of our nation, would you want to work for any of those people?
Right.
Would you want to work directly for any of those people? Now, I can clearly say with the two options, I would not. I couldn't imagine.
I would think Biden would probably be easy to get. I don't know him. I mean, obviously, but
but even
he seems like he might be easy to sort of get behind it.
I mean, have you ever managed somebody with dementia? I have. I mean, meaning like having to deal with them day to day. I have for over a year.
Yeah,
it's not easy. It's tough.
Who
right?
says he? I know people think he has dementia. Maybe he does. He could be a freaking robot for all we know. That State of a Union could have been done by an Elon Musk bot.
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't know what his healthy state is. The only problem with him is that he is really truly too old. Like,
he's
come on,
old
guys.
as dirt.
And so is Trump.
If he doesn't have dementia,
they're both too old, and they need to step down and let somebody in their youth and in their prime.
Here's what's crazy though. Guess how old Robert Kennedy Jr. is?
I'm gonna guess 62.
Okay. Or Josh?
Or either that or 58.
69.
Josh is closest. He's 70 years old. 70 years old.
So yeah, he's already in the retirement age there too. But I mean, he's still got a few years, like you could see it where he's still got some. He's been eating well.
But he also, he works out. He's a very healthy guy. I mean, he doesn't look like a 70-year-old.
No,
I would have guessed like early 60s.
Yeah. 58, 60, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's cool that he's almost 70, or he is 70.
Yeah. He's 70.
Yeah.
And I like the title of his party, man. We the People. That's pretty cool.
No, I do think that's very clever. I hope he wins. I mean, honestly, I would think that would be very cool to have something really truly fresh. But we're going to be back into uncharted territory for sure. Like, whoa, we don't know what this guy's going to be like, but
yeah, sure.
But maybe it'll be amazing.
That's where we need
it. And I mean, and as far as my vote's concerned, if he truly does make it to the ballot and, gets there and is a third person to actually consider, I mean, I guess I could see myself going, yeah, well, let's give this guy a shot. I don't like either of these guys out of principle,
Sure. Yeah.
But boy, I still worry that, no offense, but it's just going to go to kind of be a waste, that would be my worry, because again, we've been preached it, and there are so many factions and principalities and things working against a third party, as he already admitted, that it almost kind of even gives more credence to the fact that it could be considered a waste, because there's so much warring against it anyway. You get what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. No,
not that I wouldn't do it. I would vote for it, but like, it's almost like there's just not enough not enough people out there smart enough to get alongside that third mentality. They're just going to continue to go with the norm. and we're going to do business as usual. And man, that wasting my vote
Here's what
thing
I do
it still just kind of makes in my head like,
No, I get it.
because there's so many factions, so much money, so much things we don't even see or know about.
But here's what I would say to that, though. I would say what in the last, I don't know how many years, but what has either of those parties truly done for you in the last, I don't know, 15, 14 years?
I mean, I think they've done a lot, to be honest, Todd.
Yeah.
In that they've kept our society going as it has been. Now, yeah, granted, with a lot more drama recently, but I do think that they've kept business as usual. We might have ups and downs in economy, and come on, that's just always going to be a thing. I don't care who is president. There's going to be pandemics. There's going to be weird wars and stuff that happen, But I do think that for the most part, from my perspective, it's still kind of, they've still just kept the precedent that we got to keep this going. We got to keep this experiment going. Mm-hmm. And that's why I like Biden, right? That's why because at least they're not, tearing up the, Bill of Rights and all that. I mean, they're still sticking with the Constitution and sticking with kind of like how we do things. We do it with, like, for example, the transition of power. Let's do that with, handling it with grace and professionalism rather than I didn't win. Right. I didn't win. It was rigged. I didn't win. And we know that Trump is just a total, yes, he's totally that guy that doesn't like to lose. And it was the racket, or let's say he was playing tennis. Well, it was the racket or the ball or if it was golf. Oh, well, the day, whatever it is.
He's a child.
Somebody's
basically.
fault.
He's a child. Yeah.
He's a child. And so that's what we saw. We saw a child. And unfortunately, this child has, a lot of people that go, well, we agree with that child, and so, we're going to fight for what that child wants. But, and so that's what I'm saying. Do you get me? You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
No,
okay.
I
So
do,
so that's what the previous administrations did for us. I think they just kept things going. It may not have been perfect. They may have bumbled on their words a lot or sounded like an idiot from time to time and, didn't do all the best policies that they could, but at least they kept it going and running as much as they could possibly do, And now I feel like we're in a choice between throwing it all out and starting new with some crazy, convoluted, narcissistic-led version of it, and or Sleepy Joe, who, will continue to do things and it'll continue to move along. But yeah, it's just scary. It's just, it's fragile is all.
It is. And
that's how I see it. I'm dumb. I don't know.
You're not dumb. But I think the thing that I meant, though, by what has your nation done for you in a very long time, and what I mean by that is, yes, they've kept things running, but they also are a group of people that really have no idea what they're doing and kind of making it all up on the fly. I get it.
Yeah.
But is that our national debt is at 34.56 trillion, right? Like,
well, that's not going anywhere.
My point being is, like, no one's doing anything to really get that down. Oh, but what? We got it down $1 billion. Okay. Like, why are we in debt? We're one of the most powerful nations. Why are we 34 trillion? We borrowed $34 trillion.
Isn't that like every country though? Don't they all have debts just like us?
I have no idea.
Like who's in the red?
But I also know, like,
who's in the black or whatever?
If we're 34 trillion,
I can't remember.
Pink money to people all over the world. The fuck is that? Like, you don't give money when you're in debt. You pay off your debt.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Well, no, I hear that. But at the end of the day, it's yeah, that's a big discussion to have there with the dollar and all of it.
I'm just
I
saying,
mean,
on things of interest, on our government having
well,
our
and who
best
do we owe
intentions
this
at
money
heart.
to? That's the question. China, some of
The
it's to
China.
China, some of it.
The
China,
China,
the China. Who else do we owe
the
it to?
border.
Is it all just China? Do we owe just
Hell, I
stuff
don't
to
know.
China?
I don't know. Let's Google it. Let's see.
It is funny. Yeah, I don't know. I think that stuff is almost just kind of like a bragging point at some point. Yeah, look at our debt. Ours is bigger than yours. And really, like, we don't. I truly believe that we don't give a crap about that. Well, we talk about it. Oh, but look at our debt. But yeah, okay. I swear, every 3 years we have another vote to, get the debt ceiling up, and it's like, yeah. So what do we really? I mean, obviously, they're not concerned. Why is it a concern to me? I mean, even if we eventually have to come to a day where we pay it, somebody comes in and says, "You got to pay that debt." Okay, what if we don't? You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of a silly. I just don't get it personally. I don't.
So
get
check
it.
this out. Okay,
You might say, "Oh, that number, and it's going up." Well, yeah, it's always going to go up.
but
It's
that's
never
my
going
point. Is
down.
it can't always go up, man? Because
Well,
clearly
that
we're
it is. No matter what,
It needs to stop.
It's always going to go up.
My point is, check this out. Okay, who do we owe this money to? All right, here's a list of the top 10 territories that we owe money to. Who do you
Top
think number
10.
one? Let's start it.
Top 10 territories.
Thank you. Let's start at number 10.
Number 10.
Taiwan. We owe $234.6 billion. Taiwan. Because they make all our toys. I get it.
Well, yeah, I mean, sure.
This one, okay. We owe $253.4 billion to Ireland.
Ooh.
I didn't know Ireland had that kind of money. That's amazing. $254.1 billion to Canada. $285.3 billion to the Cayman Islands. Switzerland, $290.5 billion. Luxembourg, $318.2 billion. Belgium, $331.1 billion. Oh, and to the place that we escaped from, old UK, $668.3 billion. China, number 2 at $859.4 billion. Who's number 1? Guys, guess.
Japan.
Antarctica? We owe those polar bears, don't we?
Yeah, we owe. Josh, you got it right. Japan, $1.1 trillion. Now, doing the math here, that doesn't quite hit the 34 trillion. So who knows who else we owe it to. But holy shit, we owe everybody money.
But my point is, like, even though we owe it, okay, so we get downgraded. We recently got downgraded.
It's like we owe. Well, I don't know what Japan did. I mean, they might have paid us back. I don't know, but it's like, yeah, we owe them, but how much do they owe us?
Well, that's the other question, right? These people owe us, right?
I would
So why
imagine
don't
that would be like a cross in debt, right? Like you would calculate that saying like, listen, Japan, you owe us 500 billion, but we need $1 trillion. So then we now only owe you 500 billion.
But again,
your debt is 0.
That just goes back to what I'm saying. Like, it's like, I feel like that debt stuff is just something to throw around, and it's not taken truly serious. Unless I'm crazy, it doesn't seem like it's really taken truly seriously.
Well,
Because
that's
if
my
it
point.
did,
But that's
if it
my
did,
point.
you think
At some point it
Japan
was
would
taken
be coming
seriously.
at us? The same with Luxembourg. Nobody would want to do. We'd have sanctions. We'd have all this stuff. They'd be like, give us our money, give us our money. And nobody is, it's like they almost kind of go, yeah, this is just like a mute point. Like, there's no way anybody's going to pay anybody back. It's just something we do, I don't know. It just seems a little silly. And yeah, okay. So we recently got downgraded from a AAA to what, a AA plus country or something. Did you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear about that recently?
Yeah.
It was like in the news a couple years ago. But even still, so what? Like what? Okay, so we don't have the best credit, I guess. But I don't know. It's so weird to say to a country, yeah, one country to another, like, yeah, you owe this debt, and there's just nobody's going to be held accountable to it. Like, who's going to pay who back? There's no.
Well, yeah. I mean, here's something that says right here that that in late 2000, Bill Clinton signed a law that would forgive 435 million worth of debt for the world's poorest countries that we gave money to.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean,
it's interesting, man. But that's the kind of thing I go, I don't know. It's just, I think that's just, it's a strange point. And ultimately, it's what wars will be fought over, probably. If it really does come down to it, like somebody's like, we want our money now. Yeah, I guess if we can't pay it, they go, well, I guess we're going to war,
But that's what
or
makes
something.
you want, right? But that's what makes you wonder too. Like China right now has been buying up a tremendous amount of our land, farmland, businesses, stuff like that. So is that some type of deal that's been worked out with the U.S. government to maybe decrease some of our debt? Right? Like, oh yeah, sure. Listen, we can help you out.
Why don't you take Southern Idaho?
Listen, take Idaho. No one gives a shit about Idaho.
No, they actually have like I think a Chinese town in Idaho. I want to say I read about it in Idaho, and literally it's got like Chinese police and Chinese, jurisdiction. Like you can't. I don't know if that's true. Just I saw something. I went, what? No way. There's like a kind of a whoa. That'd be crazy if that's true.
But that's where
the only thing is about China. The other thing that we got to consider here too. When you look at the world and man, there's this really interesting guy that you can watch. I have to look up his name. He talks about the generations of each country. By that I mean, like who are the oldest, who are the youngest, China's in big trouble. Like they don't have a workforce in the next foreseeable years because of their one-child policies and things like that. Like they have a huge drop-off in people that just, so what it says is that all their people are old now. And so they're top heavy because when those people die, there's really nobody there to take over. And that's why you hear about China, like with all these problems, like having cities that are just ghost cities. Have you heard about this? They got all these buildings, they got all this stuff, and nobody's there. Nobody's to use it. Whereas America has, man, some really good news in that front. We are very good at creating our kids the workforce that'll follow us. If we could just get the workforce, the younger workforce, to actually work. That's our, like that's everybody's problem, right? Because we all don't want to work, right? We'd rather just sit and become YouTube starlets or podcast starlets. But you know what I mean? Like anyway, there's a guy that discusses it. I'll try to look up what his name is and give it to you. But my father-in-law showed it to me, and man, my mind was just blown by some of the facts that this guy was bringing up. And this guy informs all sorts of countries about what's going on and what the real numbers are. And you look at, there was a time where we go, well, we really, I fear us going to war with China. I after I watched that guy, I was like, oh, I don't even think China is going to be a problem for anybody.
There's no way we're going to be at war with China.
But I mean, even if they wanted to, they just don't have the like they don't have the, you know what I mean? They're missing.
But I just don't think they have to, right? Like you just have to come in and buy up half of America and go, we're shutting it down. Well, hold on, China. Don't shut down our farms. Don't shut down we need that stuff. So then you
think that's what they're doing, though? You think they're covertly?
I have no idea.
I mean, I don't. It's hard to say. I've heard a lot of a few years ago. I remember there was a highway that we didn't even own, and the tolls were all going to someplace like Luxembourg. Here in America.
Sure. Yeah.
We're like, what do you mean a highway isn't owned by anybody in America? It's owned by what? Or like certain ports. What? That's all going to some other country. So maybe, that's where those debts are getting paid off. But yeah, it's not showing up on the ticker in Times Square. But yeah, I still look at that and I go, who is really going to keep accountable any country of all the trillions that we all owe? I feel like it's all just one big IOU world that we live in.
But that's the thing, is it makes you wonder, like, also, and this is kind of gets a little conspiracy, but why we have such a large military, right? Is it because we go, somebody goes, hey, listen, I need you to pay that back. We go, do you?
Yeah, right. And same guy that was talking about the Russia, China, generational problems. That thing. Yeah. Speaking of, we are the largest, like, if you look at our supplies and what we've got out in just the water, let's say, so he did a little graph and he had, here's, let's say 20 aircraft carriers, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many do you think, he goes, I want to show him, how many do you think is one of these is owned by Russia? And now how many do you think is China, right? 0 of them were owned. They were all owned by us. So we man the seas, like we decimate the waters. Mm. We are a naval empire running amok around this world. Because nobody has an aircraft.
My friend's he's a pilot for the Navy. And he mentioned a fact. He said, comparing us to Russia, saying how our Navy has more air power than all of Russia does.
Yeah.
Wow. Like our really, Navy has more air power.
Yeah. It's insane because we've got.
It's kind of absurd, honestly. It's a little too. It's too much.
We're in a sense the bullies out in the sea. Like, yeah. So it's true, Todd.
Yeah, and you wonder why some other countries hate America. I'm not saying they should, but how would you feel?
We're bullies. We are.
Listen, I'm just throwing it out there. How would you feel if Russia, Japan, China, Iran had bases all over our country and kind of monitored what we did?
How would you feel? It'd be horrible.
Mm-hmm. And then when we got out of line a little bit or did things we didn't like, they start kicking our asses a little bit just to get us in line.
Blow up a part of Chicago or blow up a part of
how do you feel about that?
With their military might? Yeah, I mean that's what we're doing. I mean, we go, hey, you step in line, or we're going to come in there and airstrike you. And all it is, I mean, yeah, wow, it's interesting. It's a very interesting number.
It's very interesting, and I think this kind of goes back to initially what we were talking about is in your voting, does it matter? I think it does matter, guys. And again, Robert Kennedy Jr. may not be for you, but just listen to some more stuff that he has to say. Check it out. Maybe he is. I think a world that can get along better. I also think an America that can run better. I mean, think about it. Talking about our failing systems, we talked about earlier how why are so many people sick? Why is dementia on the rise and autism and all these things,
and
cancer, depression, all these things, there's plenty of countries now that don't have fluoride in their water. We introduced it a long time ago and it's slowly poisoning us. It's true. It's slowly poisoning us. Maybe we should get that out of the water. Maybe we need a leader who is focused on cleaning us up and getting us healthy so that we're ready for the next phase of the world.
Golden Age.
Richard Simmons.
The Golden Age. Richard Simmons. Yeah. Vote for Richard Simmons. Anyways, guys.
Sweating to the oldies.
There he is. Old sweating to the oldies.
Poor guy. He's like, somebody's got him trapped in a...
Why wait another minute?
No, he's okay. He's okay.
Is he okay?
Came out that he's... something came out that
he had a handler that was like...
That's what they were saying, I think. But I think he came out recently and said that I think he's got some type of cancer scare going on. So I think he's just kind of pulled himself in and away from everything.
What a classic dude.
Oh yeah, awesome.
He's like, it's there really are some faces from my childhood that just, he's one of them. Pee Wee Herman, unfortunately, Tammy Faye and her husband. But then like Weird Al, Trump, all these people who've kind of just stood the test of time. They came through the wild, wild west of the 80s, and they're here just dinking around, trying to be
80s
relevant.
were awesome though.
The 80s were cool.
I mean, imagine if we could have a nation again that was more like the 80s and 90s. Now, again, I'm not talking about like the, just the bullshit,
the nasty stuff,
the racism, and
even just the pedophilia or the sheer,
none of that shit.
Women were, doing bad things to women in the workforce,
right?
And stuff.
Remember
a lot.
when you were a kid in the 80s or 90s, and you went outside as soon as the sunlight came up, and your whole day was to explore the world with your friends, and no matter how big that world was, could have been a park, could have been blocks, but that was your day, and the way you felt when you were running around with your friends, and how free you felt. That's the America I want again, because right now, like, we didn't have that with my kids growing up. Like, it didn't feel the same. It felt different. But imagine America back to that without all the bullshit. Get us there.
All right.
Get us there.
I want to be able to see my loved one off to her flight, right at the gate.
Yeah.
Screw this.
Let us get back in there.
Security stuff. No.
Why do I got to keep taking my shoes off? Come on, guy.
All right, Todd, I'm about talked out, but this is fun.
I am too. I did want to say one last thing. Have Josh, because Josh and I are both wearing a United Boulevard shirt. And I don't know if people are going to question, like, what the hell is that? So Josh, tell us it's our
new porn site.
It's our new porn site. Yeah. It's kind of like OnlyFans. Mm-hmm. So if you go to United Boulevard, that's UnitedBLVD.com, check it out. It's
a chance
super
to see
sexy.
Yeah.
Yep, sexy. You never know what you'll see.
Or whatever you want to call it. I don't want
All right, guys.
I'm
Love you.
Get flagged. See ya.
Adios.
Bye.
Created by human